There's a couple exciting Nintendo Switch stories we got to talk about today, starting with Pokemon Legends Arceus and a brand new fan discovery that has a lot of people talking online on whether or not we can expect DLC to be around the corner for this game. Then the big talking point for today's video is Platinum CEO being very open to acquisition possibilities, and we have to talk about whether or not Nintendo or another company could step in and buy them and what this would mean for the future landscape of the Nintendo Switch. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're covering a couple different stories today, and we got to kick it off with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and the reason it is in the news and making the rounds online today, because it's a rather interesting detail that has been uncovered, which is that there is a modern themed room that you can't just access in the game. You do have to go out of bounds, but it's essentially finished and it looks like it's very crisp and could have been played through. Maybe this was just cut content on a certain way that they were planning on starting the game, but of course it has a lot of fans speculating on whether or not we can expect new DLC content to be soon announced, and maybe that's where this room originates from. But to get on the same page with all the information on how this was discovered and whether or not it may indicate DLC, I do want to quickly hop over to Eurogamer and read through their article that they have typed up, kind of explaining how this was uncovered and why it could indicate DLC or cut content. So let's quickly read through that together. A secret room has been discovered in Pokemon Legends Arceus that may hint at possible DLC. The room was discovered by Deep Game Research. YouTuber Blaines has then discussed the secret in the video on his channel. Players will know that Pokemon Legends Arceus begins with the protagonist being ripped from modern day and thrust into the past to start their adventure. This differs from most Pokemon games where the protagonist begins in their bedroom complete with the latest Nintendo console. By going out of bounds, Deep Game Research has discovered a modern day bedroom in the game. It even includes a Pikachu-styled Nintendo Switch. Fans have been theorizing on what this could mean. On one hand, this may just be cut content. Perhaps originally the protagonist was indeed meant to start in their modern day bedroom instead of immediately time traveling of the final release. On the other hand, this could be indicative of future DLC taking place in modern day. Pokemon Legends Arceus has already proven incredibly popular, selling 6.5 million copies in the first week. It seems certain then that DLC will be on the way, just like with Sword and Shield. So whether or not you think this room is indication that we are right around the corner from DLC potentially taking place in the modern era in the Arceus world, which I think is less likely, or whether or not it was just cut content when they were first building out the game and the starting of the game, and maybe plans changed along the way, but they didn't totally delete that room, they just left it in there. Regardless, it's an interesting topic and an interesting thing to look at. As you can see, the detail of the room clearly matches the graphical fidelity of the game, and it looks like it's a finished, ready to go room. Like, it didn't look like they needed to do really anything else. It didn't look like it was half finished. So at one point, it may have just been the plan that you start off your adventure in your modern style bedroom before you travel into the past. That's totally a realistic possibility. However, I do think that it's a pretty much a no-brainer situation to expect DLC to come for Legends Arceus. Now, when we see an announcement remains to be seen. We did have that one leaker who apparently has a decent track record specifically around revealing Pokemon game details, did actually say that April would be the month, but I think that that seems very soon at this point in time. But you never know, Game Freak could come out and announce at least their plans for it in April, and maybe it launches more towards the middle part of the year, or they could actually have something scheduled towards the middle or back half of April and they just haven't unveiled it to us yet. But regardless, this game is obviously off to a fantastic start. In my opinion, it is the most refreshing Pokemon experience I've had, period. Like, since I've been a fan as a kid growing up with these games, I've enjoyed Legends Arceus the most flat out. And that's kind of crazy for me to say because I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into various different Pokemon games over the course of time, but that is how good of a direction I believe Legends Arceus is for the future of the franchise, that I am truly enjoying this the most, hands down. So I would encourage people who really, or even, you know, maybe you're not a Pokemon fan traditionally because you just can't get into the gameplay style, check this one out. It is different enough. It feels like a full-on action RPG with a lot of intensity in various aspects of the game. The story is great. I do wish there was voice acting. There's definitely some things that I would like to see them tweak and refine with future installments, but overall, this is a 10 out of 10 experience for me personally, and I would love to hear from you guys on how you're enjoying the game so far. What do you think this room really means? Is it just cut content, or do you think that we may actually be talking about a modern day era taking place in something like Pokemon Legends Arceus DLC? And also let me know how you would rate the game personally, especially if you're somebody who came over who is maybe maybe a fan of the traditional formula, but was also ready for a change to it like I was, and what you personally think about Legends Arceus. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys on all things Pokemon Legends Arceus in the comments down below. Now, the big talking point for today's video has to do with an ongoing trend we are seeing more and more prevalent in the gaming industry in the year of 2022, and that has to do with big companies going through mergers and acquisitions. Specifically, most notably, we've had Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, which like nobody expected and was the craziest deal of all time. You then had Sony buy Bungie super recently. Zynga was taken over by Take-Two Interactive. Like, there has been a ton of company buyouts from some really notable names, and the Platinum CEO, and the reason Platinum Games is in the news today, has addressed that they would be open to a takeover situation and an acquisition as long as they still remain independent and be able to create projects that they want to work on. So similar to what we are seeing Microsoft at least state on record, which may or may not be true for the long term of the company, but right now Microsoft is saying that as they purchase Activision Blizzard, that they're okay with them continuing to support other platforms and continuing to put out the big name games like Call of Duty and some other IPs they want to bring back, like Guitar Hero, which I am very ready for a series return for at this point, as I was a huge fan of those games back in the day. And then even things like Tony Hawk games, Crash Bandicoot, whatever new projects they start to work on as time goes on, like they're clearly stating right now they're okay with it being released on numerous different platforms, and it's not a traditional takeover. All that said, companies are for-profit companies at the end of the day, and they may very well change their tune as time goes on and the industry evolves over the course of time. But to kick off this conversation specifically with Platinum Games and whether or not we can expect Nintendo to potentially be the one to hop in here and secure them, I do want to quickly hop over to VGC where we can read through exactly what was said and how likely this is in terms of whether or not Nintendo may step in and be a potential buyer. Platinum CEO says he wouldn't dismiss acquisition offers as long as our freedom is respected. President Asushi Inaba thinks Activision will be afforded autonomy under Microsoft. Platinum Games CEO has suggested that the Bayonetta studio would be willing to entertain acquisition talks in the future should its freedom be guaranteed. Speaking to VGC following his recent promotion to president and CEO, Atsushi Inaba was asked about recent consolidation in the games industry, most significantly marked by Microsoft's $70 billion buyout of Activision Blizzard, and if Platinum would be open to offers. Inaba responded by saying he'd be open to any possibility as long as Platinum was afforded the kind of independence he expects Microsoft to offer Activision once its deal is complete. The most important thing for us is to have freedom to make the games that we want to make, he said. When I hear about the recent acquisitions, I don't think Microsoft is going to start micromanaging Activision to where they take away all their freedom. I don't think it's going to be a relationship like that. I think there's going to be a lot of mutual respect there, and I think Activision will be able to continue doing what they do best. That's also what's most important for us at the end of the day, whatever form that takes for us and our company. So I would not turn anything down as long as our freedom was still respected. Inaba previously suggested that Platinum would not be interested in a sale to Microsoft, which has publicly stated its desire to add Japanese studios to its first-party roster should such a theoretical arrangement limit its independence. Platinum is one of Japan's most prominent independent game developers, known for its enviable track record of creating original games such as Bayonetta, The Wonderful 101, Vanquish, and Astral Train, as well as high-profile collaborations on titles such as Metal Gear Rising, Nier Automata, and Star Fox Zero. I personally think this is a very interesting talking point because you may have noticed there that a lot of the big games that Platinum has been known for over the years are indeed Nintendo IPs, and I would be very surprised to see Nintendo let somebody like a Microsoft slide in and buy a big game studio in Japan like Platinum Games, and that is not a common transaction because it is heavily rooted in Japanese culture to be a Japan company and not sell to US based companies. So whether or not Microsoft could pull off a deal like that remains to be seen, but it definitely sounded to me like the CEO was very open to that idea, specifically as he referenced Microsoft in the Activision Blizzard buyout, and maybe that's them kind of signaling to Nintendo and just other larger companies that, hey, we're open to offers, put them on our table, whatever the future of this company becomes, as long as we can create the games we want to create is fine by us. And you then have to look at how Nintendo has recently stated their intentions with purchasing companies, and it seems to be something that they will do if it's necessary, according to President Shuntaro Furukawa, which this may qualify as a necessary situation where, to stop the consolidation of major companies that they want to continue to work with, they may step in and purchase them if necessary. That was directly said from President Shuntaro Furukawa when asked about their cash on hand reserves and how they may use some of that stuff. But then they've also kind of gone in the other direction and said that companies that don't share their same DNA, that Nintendo foundation on how they operate, really don't help enhance their gameplay experience at the end of the day, and that they would like to continue to organically grow their own studios that are already in-house Nintendo studios. So whether or not Nintendo steps in and buys Platinum, or whether or not it goes to somebody like Microsoft or maybe even Sony, which I wouldn't expect necessarily, but it could happen, I think it's really interesting that the CEO is just entertaining this conversation like this, and essentially, you know, putting out there on major news outlets that they are open to the discussion of Platinum Games being taken over or acquired, as long as, of course, they have that creative freedom to still create the games that they want to create. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video what you think this means for the future of Nintendo Switch as a whole. Obviously, we have Bayonetta 3 around the corner this year in 2022 coming from Platinum, and I'm sure it won't affect anything with that game's development, and there's been no official mergers or acquisitions announced at this point. But it is an interesting thing to entertain the idea of Platinum being bought out by a major studio, and maybe it's Nintendo. I personally think Nintendo should purchase them at this point. I don't think they have to by any means, but I think it may be a good idea for a studio that creates such successful IPs to be brought in-house under the Nintendo umbrella of corporations. And so I would love to hear from you guys and your personal thoughts and feelings around this, and how you think this will ultimately play out with Platinum Games, and what you personally feel like this means for the future of the Nintendo Switch games as a whole. So please share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Make sure you check out yesterday's video where we discussed the 007 GoldenEye remaster leaks once again surfacing online, and why we could be around the corner from an official announcement in the upcoming weeks. And please make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification icon before you leave, and I will see you guys in the next video.